Hey, what's going on, everybody? So a big win for the Miami Hurricanes, 82-74 over Virginia Tech. They were down by 10 in the second half. It didn't look great at that time, obviously, but good defensive play by a lot of key guys that I will get into, and they come away with the win. So they improved to 6-5 in the ACC, a very important win here to start the second half. Starting at home, they do have that quick turnaround on Monday at Virginia, and always a tough team to play against for Miami. But just starting with this game, it was great seeing Matthew Cleveland come back, 15 points to 13 rebounds, missed the last 2 games with the hip injury, and I thought he looked great. And certainly this team is much better with him on the court. And the other thing that we saw today that we've not had a chance to see is this new starting lineup that they've been going with Kyshawn George in there, who is actually right behind me working on some extra shots, some extra shooting after the game. So that's good to see. I'll get more into Kyshawn, but just the fact that he's in there, and for Bensley Joseph, who I thought played outstanding today. I think Bensley deserves a lot of credit for how he played, and I asked him in the post-game press conference, just his role has changed. He's not in the starting lineup, but he still provided plenty of production offensively with the 14 points, but defensively played with a lot of energy. Just clearly a team guy that didn't sulk with the role change, which some guys do. It's just the nature of college basketball and sports in general, but Bensley really brought it. I said before the game I thought he needed to have a big game defensively, offensively, even though his role had changed. But again, so he deserves a lot of credit, and definitely got to commend him for that, for his production. They certainly need that off the bench. The bench has just not been producing nearly as much as they would like to, as what Coach Larinaga would like to see. So Kyshawn George is in there in the starting lineup, and I just want to note, and if you've seen an article I talked about in a mock draft recently, he's projected as a lottery pick, and I know that might surprise some of you, but look, I can tell you internally, the coaching staff is very well aware that they might not have him past this season. And look, there are NBA scouts at each game. He's a very intriguing prospect who has been playing very well in the second half of the season. And I said at the beginning of the year, I didn't think he would be here that long because of just the things I saw in practice and his abilities. But just another thing to kind of bring this up. Not only were scouts here, but I saw Mike Dunleavy Jr., the general manager of the Golden State Warriors, here at the game. Just kind of said hello briefly. It's good to see Mike. Actually watched him in the national championship game when he was at Duke. Also had a chance to watch him in Summer League play as a player in Long Beach, and then covered him in the NBA whenever his teams would come and play the Heat. So just kind of great seeing him and his progression in his career. But again, he was here, and I can tell you, we didn't talk specifically, but Kyshawn's one of the guys that NBA scouts are definitely watching because of the things he can do, not only offensively, but defensively. And we saw it today, guarding Sean Padula, who had some points, but he also had 6 turnovers in the second half. And I thought Miami's defense, Bensley, Kyshawn, the other guys, I thought the steal and dunk by Omier was big, and also just the overall defense in the second half. Although Virginia Tech was able to shoot at a pretty good percentage, Miami was able to create some defensive turnovers. They were able to stop some things in the lane that they just weren't allowing earlier in the game. A lot of points in the paint for Virginia Tech, and I posted on the message board during the game thread that the points in the paint were adding up for Virginia Tech in addition to the 3-point shooting. That's not a good recipe for winning. Defensively, you've got to be able to take something away, and I thought they did a good job of that in those final 11 minutes when Miami was down 10 to really overcome that, and then offensively they were able to get enough baskets to pull out the win. So offensively, we saw Virginia Tech go on a big run to close out the first half, 11-1 run. Miami missed their final 12 shots from the floor in the first half, and we've seen this at times throughout the season, where the offense really grinds to a halt. I think one of the things that happened in the first half, or happens in these moments with the team, is there's a lot of standing around. There's one guy inside the paint, but then there's 4 guys standing around, not a lot of ball movement. It's a lot of, trying to take players off the dribble, and Miami's got a lot of good offensive players one-on-one, but it's a little too difficult to come up with some shots. So it's a lot of one-on-one, give the person the ball at the arc and see if they can drive and make some dribbles for a better shot, or shoot a 3. And that's what we saw a little bit, just some difficult shots in the half court for Miami in the first half. Whereas in the second half, we saw a lot of dribble handoffs at the top of the key, right here to my right here. A lot of times where they were cycling through. They would a couple dribbles past the next person, and really what that does is it gets the defense of Virginia Tech a little out of sorts. So at that point, they're either looking for drives, some openings there, either on ball, if their on-ball defender is not in the right position, or they're swinging it to the wing, and maybe that person is getting their defender off balance, or if something might free open in the lane for an easy pass down low. So those are the things that were working well for Miami in the second half, and I thought that was a good adjustment for Coach Larinaga and the coaching staff, that they were able to kind of implement a little bit more motion in their offense in the half-court sets, which I think led to them scoring 56 points there in the second half. Just a huge second half performance by Miami. Certainly it was needed, but again, it was a complete effort offensively and defensively, which led to them having a key victory. I just glanced back, and Norchad Omier right now is being interviewed by reporters from Nicaragua, so that's always great to see when people from a community can come in and see their guys in action. So that's great. And Norchad, we battled through some foul trouble, and I think it's been clear this season, last year, anytime he's been in a Miami uniform, they're just much better with him on the floor. And I thought it was very difficult when he picked up that second foul in the first half with him not on the floor. I thought some of the baskets inside the paint were just a little difficult with the one-on-one situations, which was a point of emphasis when I was at practice yesterday. They really wanted to avoid the one-on-one post-ups by Virginia Tech, and I thought they were getting to those spots a little too easily, and then Virginia Tech was able to get buckets out of those one-on-one situations. So in the second half, they tried to double a little bit more, kind of make things a little bit more disruptive, and Coach said in his post-game press conference that during a timeout, he reminded the guys to disrupt, which was their quote of the day at yesterday's practice. Every practice, Coach comes up with a quote of the day that they deliver. It's a message to the team either about the upcoming game, with how they're playing, or just a message that they want to have for that particular practice. And it was very simple, disrupt. They wanted to disrupt the Virginia Tech offensive sets, a very good team with its timing in the half court. They run a lot of offensive sets, and that's what we saw Virginia Tech today. It really led to some buckets there, and I thought Miami, again, it was one of the things that they did well in the second half defensively, that they were able to disrupt things with that Virginia Tech offense enough to get the win. So just wrapping this up, Miami has a huge game at Virginia on Monday. Quick turnaround. Coach always talks about the turnaround, so they've got to be ready for a tough Virginia team that's been playing very well at home. Also, they have a little bit different style with the way they use Ryan Dunn, so it's going to be maybe interesting to see how that works out for Miami in their only game against Virginia, a team that they're going to be chasing in the standings. So this stretch, the second half, 5-5 in the first half in league play. They've got another 10 to go. Now it's 9, and Miami has a really good chance if they can get to 7-5, 2 wins to really start off the second half. I thought that would be big. So it's a very important game for Miami to kind of set the tone for this month for that second half. So certainly a good win today. Miami needed it, and they overcame a deficit when it didn't look good at times. And that's something I really think this team can really build on. A lot of good individual performances, and hopefully Woga Poplar can really get past his ankle injury. He's really battling through it. Saw it at practice yesterday. He's really reaching for his ankle quite a bit at times. He's really trying his best to play through it. He went to the locker room for about 3 minutes of game action in the first few minutes of the game, and just not able to be as effective as he would like to be, but he's still trying his best to be either effective in rebounding or hitting some shots when he can, hitting free throws as we saw late in the game. So he's not at his best, but they've got other guys they can go to, and that's what we saw today. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate your support. Definitely stay locked in on the website. You're going to have more information on this game as well as the upcoming game against Virginia. So thanks. Have a good rest of the day, and take care.